Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Let's Go Karaoke Season 1, Episode 2. Great episode, a lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Just kind of an interesting little detail. Apparently this show is set in 2019, and I had to look it up out of curiosity. The manga was originally published in 2019 when the mangaka was self-publishing it initially. So I thought that was just kind of an interesting little detail because I was like, oh, if this is set... Because the release, like, around the time of the Summer Festival performance, I mean, it's summertime and stuff like that, but it's, like, roughly around the time she self-published. I'm curious if she did... Yama Wayama, the mangaka, I wonder, did she, like, self-publish it all at once, or did she do chapter by chapter? I'm so curious. Either way, I just thought that was just kind of an interesting thing I wanted to kind of add in. But also, since I'm here, you know, my little diatribe at the beginning, also this song, I'm going to listen to that song a couple more times. The intro, I'm like, it's a really nice vibe. I really like it, so I'm probably going to end up adding that to, like, my Spotify playlist or something like that. But either way, tangents and all that aside, I think it's great how the episode starts as this, like, nightmare, and the episode ends with a nightmare, but for two different reasons. But we'll get to it, you know, especially how the final nightmare. But the beginning nightmare is all about Satomi feeling like he's scared about, like, when the moment comes, he's not going to sing, and it's initially like a large crowd, but everyone in the choir as well as the crowd turns into him. He's his own worst enemy in this regard, so he's got so much fear and doubt in a situation, and now because he's having nightmares, he's not sleeping well, which that's just going to contribute to, like, the psychological element, and probably most likely going to get you sick, and this is also the time not to be getting sick, so a lot of that's going to be playing a part in all of this. I do like that we do get to spend a little time with Satomi's parents this episode, kind of get to know them. I like their personalities. First and foremost, when his mom is like, you know, it's like, hey, you need to get all pumped up, and she gives him, like, his thermos, and then later on, she's like, wait, she smells cigarettes. She's like, honey, I think our son is turning into a delinquent, and the dad doesn't even move from the couch watching TV. He's like, oh, is he in his rebellious phase? And it's just like, he's like, I was at a karaoke bar, you know, like, and, you know, they smell like smoke. She's like, how would I know that? And she's like, how would I know something like that? And he's like, she's like, do you want something to eat? He's like, nah. She's like, oh, nah, look at you, so scared. It's just like how silly his parents are. I thought that was kind of neat. And even just their different perspective, because, like, when they're watching that Yakuza movie or whatever, and, like, the guy does the cutting off his finger thing, and I think the dad was like, oh my god, he's so cool, and the mom's like, oh, he's an idiot. Just showing you their two different perspectives on it. I just thought that was neat. But a big, like, extracurricular thing they've got going on at his school was, like, yeah, they were going to go pick strawberries, but he was kind of like, I'm too old for that. And I guess he was a little too embarrassed to admit that when Kyoji came to pick him up. So I was like, no, come on, let's go. He's like, yeah, I don't want to pick strawberries or something like that, because I think maybe there's some subconscious element of him being like, even though, like, Kyoji's kind of cool and everything, he's probably still like, well, if a Yakuza tells me to come along, I have to come along. Like, because he's like, oh, then come to the karaoke with me. And and Satomi's like, oh, I just got kidnapped. It's like, you could have said no, but in your mind, you can't say no to a Yakuza. Even though you kind of, like, co-sign being a part of all this. You know what I'm also curious about? I'm a little all over the place. I do apologize. I wonder, did Yama Wayama, like, take any inspiration from the Yakuza games? Because once again, I've tangentially, like, you know, experienced some of the Yakuza games. I've watched some people play the Yakuza games, like, bits and pieces, but I've never, like, played them myself. It's a franchise I probably should take time to jump into, but obviously it's like, they can be dead serious, but they can also be very silly, because a big mini game in those is the karaoke mini games. So I'm wondering, did the mangaka take any inspiration from those? Because, like, when those are, like, one of the biggest Yakuza franchises I can think of, you know, but I'm not well versed in all Japanese media, so I'm sure there's plenty of, like, TV shows and other things, but, like, Yakuza is, like, to me, like, a big staple. And I wonder, are there any other Yakuza things in Japan that, like, really, like, are silly like that? But like I said, has that juxtaposition of it can be deadly serious, and, like, there are, you know, deadly moments, but it can also be like, outright like weird and crazy with some of its characters and its side quests and just the world of Yakuza. So I wondered, did the mangaka take any inspiration from that with the whole Yakuza and karaoke? I wondered, did that play any role inspiration wise? And I really should look into that in my next episode or something like that. Especially when like where we start with Kyoji, him and the others are at the house bath, and like one member is singing and stuff like that, and another person is getting into it with him. Like, obviously, this singing stuff, this karaoke stuff is serious business because no one wants to get a tattoo from their boss. It's just like, once again, it's such a funny premise. And Kyoji's the one that's like, hey, you guys, calm down. Like, the fact is, our boss's like family motto is basically to feel at home, and like we came here to build bonds and camaraderie. The fact is, you're singing with your voice. You don't need to do that. You need to sing from your abdomen. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. And another guy's like, whoa, those are some advanced techniques, Kyoji. Like, where'd you learn that? Like, that's some advanced stuff. He's like, well, I learned it from my teacher. They're like, wait, teacher? He's like, yep, I got my one and only teacher. And so when Kyoji comes to pick up Satomi to take him to the karaoke, he's actually like, yo, this is like the only day off where we could get like everyone together. It's not everyone, but a good chunk of people. And obviously when Satomi steps into that room, cigarettes, everyone's like, oh, so this is the kid. He's nervous as hell because it's like, well, it's bad enough when you have one Yakuza, now you've got a room full of them. At least he spent enough time with Kyoji to feel at least a little okay, versus these are complete stranger Yakuzas. And so, he's terrified, and Kyoji's like, hey man, just give him your honest opinion. Honestly, I really like the second guy. The second guy was killing it. I had to go back and listen to that second guy again. And even Satomi's like, honestly, that was pretty good. I got no notes. He's like, oh, arigato. And so he ends up like giving notes to everyone about like, oh, your pitch is off, your this, your that. He gets to the last guy, he's just like, oh, you suck. And the guy's like, what'd you just say to me? And rushes him. And he looks so hurt when Kyoji stops him. He's like, come on, he's giving us all notes. He's like, but halfway through it, he was just insulting me. It's like, it's actually so funny that he would, obviously, like, they, because they felt like, Satomi wasn't giving them, that guy in particular, it's like, oh, you weren't giving me constructive criticism, you were just saying I suck. But, we didn't hear everything, because we were just kind of, like, immediately, like, hard cutting to, like, a little of them singing, but then, like, immediately to Satomi's advice to him. But, it seemed like he was giving them legitimate advice, because he was also too caught up in the moment, because Satomi got too comfortable, because Kyoji was like, yeah, I want your honest opinion, and he took the honesty well. But I thought it was, eventually, it was like, Kyoji's like, hey, come on, we need his advice, because the fact of the matter is we need an outside person to tell us whether or not we're good or not, because none of us want to get the tattoo, right? So we can only better ourselves by getting an outside perspective. And even though ultimately it's like, oh, Kyoji's like, so do you have anything else to say, Satomi? He gets in front of everyone, bows down, he's like, I'm so sorry I was rude. They're like, oh, come on, you don't need to like bow down in front of your head. But he gives the guy advice. He's like, you need to not do ballads. Find a like different song, like something a little more catchy, a little more energy to it that will fit your voice more. He's like, oh, okay. And it was just kind of like a well-received thing. They're just like, really thank you. And they're all bowing their heads to him. So very stressful situation for Satomi. The problem is now he's starting to have nightmares about it too. It's like, and it's all Kyoji. He was literally in the middle of class, fell asleep, and had a nightmare that quickly, being in front of all of those Yakuza members singing and stuff like that. And they're like, oh. And there's even that portrait of like, what was it? I think the portrait was supposed to be like end of a youthful, or this is a youthful era. And it's just a picture of Satomi sitting in a chair crying. Obviously, like, this whole situation was a little stressful and overwhelming. I also think it's interesting because initially Satomi's like, I'm done. That was a lot. So I think I'm done with this whole thing. And so Kyoji gives him strawberries because he's like, yo, like, I picked these up from the store because I knew you probably really wanted to go, and think of it as payment for you helping us out in this regard. But immediately Satomi's like, well, if it's just you, I can make an exception. And Kyoji's like, look at you. You're such a good guy, Satomi. Because he's like, yeah, he even recognizes, why did I do that? I literally had a chance to back out of this, and I couldn't. But it's something about, I think, like, the strawberries and just how nice Kyoji is, and he's just got that type of personality that can very like, he even brings it up like normally when people are in his car, he always has people sit in the back, but like when people sit in the front, he's like, they can't help but be drawn to me consistently. Not just women, but also you, it seems like. I think that just plays into his personality. Like, he doesn't seem as scary as other Yakuzas, but still, like, even Satomi has his moments because he was watching his dad, like, listen to some music on TV, like some music videos were playing or whatever, or music promotion was playing, and he wrote a list of songs that he thinks would be befitting Kyoji in different parts and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, went through the trouble compounding a list where he was kind of like, it's no big deal. It's like, I don't know. The fact is you are taking this serious, I think is kind of interesting. And I think at the end of the day, Kyoji really does appreciate the effort. Even though he does like, even though like the Yakuza are scary, but they, and this is just a Western perspective I have on the Yakuza, but it's like, they can be scary, but they do serve a purpose. Some are more leaning into like the scary gangster than others because they look after neighborhoods and stuff like that. That's kind of what a gang gets supposed to do. Some don't fill that role, but like Yakuza really are supposed to represent that, even though they are criminal. There is kind of like this respect that they have, and so my point is like Kyoji doesn't always carry himself like one, but it still scares the crap out of Satama to the point that he was about to like. Kyoji lifts up his hand. He's like, oh my God, I thought I was about to get smacked. It's like, why would he? Like, Kyoji's never done anything like that. But he also acts like a father figure to you when he's like, hey, yo, take your elbows off the table while you're eating. And then, he kind of gives him, Satomi gives him side eye. He's like, I'm sure those eyes were you just saying, quit lecturing me. And he does it again later on. So they might be gangsters, but they have their etiquette and, stuff like that as well. But also coinciding with this, well, there's two things. First and foremost, with Satomi, there's the printouts that we're handing out about the performance and stuff. He was going to bring it up to his mom, but he couldn't bring himself to do it because he's too embarrassed because he's so in his own head about like, oh, I'm going to fail. And so because of that, he's not telling his mom about it because he's like, oh, like I don't have confidence in myself. And he doesn't want to, I guess, embarrass himself in front of his mom because apparently his brother's coming home for like summer break. So I don't know if like that's what really made him kind of like, maybe he's like, oh, my brother's better and just, like let's focus on that. I don't want to like get my mom's attention towards this. And she's probably, her and his dad will probably be really disappointed. Like, oh, why didn't you tell us? So it's probably going to be a situation of he's going to leave the pamphlet or printout somewhere and she's going to find it. I also get that to some extent too because I've been that kid, not in that choir sense, but there have been things I remember being younger, specifically in elementary school and middle school, there being things at school that I was like, there was like an honor thing that was like, I was kind of getting awarded for something me and other students were, and I didn't tell my mom about it. And my mom was like, why didn't you tell me that? I would have easily went there. So it's not the same thing, but it's like, I kind of get that same like energy from Satomi. I understand that feeling of like, that was just more of a like, it's just kind of like, I don't want to waste your time. And I think he kind of sadly has that type of feeling. But then we also kind of get into a little bit of this serious side of the Yakuza. It's like, oh, it's once again like the Yakuza games. It's not all fun and games because he's like, oh, well, traffic's kind of backed up. Let's take a shortcut. But he's like, yo, don't be wandering around this side of town alone. In fact, he's like, yo, this place, oh, let me show you. This is the bar. It's apparently like the boss's lover's bar that like she, I guess, like works at. Either, I don't remember if he specified what, I don't think it's just she works at, I think she might own it. But he's like, this is where they actually go to play karaoke. But it's like, oh, he's like, because Satomi was under the impression, I thought you guys would just go to a regular karaoke place. But he's like, no, like a place with a whole bunch of scary looking Yakuza, we're going to draw too much attention. He's like, but you literally did that with me today, where it's like a whole bunch of, might have been the day before, I don't remember the time frame, but now it's like, yeah, you literally did that with me. But it's like, well, that was kind of an exception, especially because not everyone was there. So I think that adds to it. But it's like, yeah, like, I thought it was interesting because Satomi was like, oh, do you want me to like kind of, you want to take me around to kind of check out the place? He's kind of like, it's not really necessary. So I'm assuming at some point we get to check the place out, kind of get to meet the boss proper and maybe even like meet his significant other. So I just thought that was just interesting. The fact that they added that line of dialogue makes me feel like it's going to come up. I mean, I guess a reason why Satomi probably would want to kind of get a look at the venue, probably have a better layout of the place. But I guess it's like, well, it's just a karaoke bar. Do you really need to do that? It's like, well, I guess maybe on some subconscious level, it was Satomi almost trying to like take a step into that world, even though he's made it clear, like, I don't want to step, I recognize me and Kyoji come from two different worlds, and I want to keep those worlds as separated as possible. Especially because when he opens the compartment to give him like a piece of paper, because he's like, yo, give me a piece of paper so I can like write down and map out the places you shouldn't go. And then so to my surprise, Satomi finds a finger in there, and I was like, is it going to be like a proper fake finger? He's like, oh man, I meant to throw that away. It's like, where did that finger come from? It's like, oh yeah, it belonged to a guy that basically is hooked on drugs, and the boss was just kind of like, I can't do anything with you. So his like amendment to kind of get out was losing a finger. It's like the guy kind of didn't care too much either way, so. And now that's running through Satomi's head later on when he's having a nightmare. And that's where I was talking about tail ending the episode with a nightmare for different reasons. The first one was all about you, like, not being able to, like, perform and, you beating yourself up about it. The other one is, the others are like, other Yakuza are gathered around and just like, wait, where's Kyoji? Kyoji became the sucky song king and he got tattooed, and they're like, this is all your fault and you have to pay the price for it, and he's about to get his finger cut off for it. It's like, would they really go through that? Probably not. It's just kind of a thing of, oh man, it sucks. But I don't think the Yakuza is going to blame you, but, that's him in his head because, he doesn't really know that world and these people. So he's like, oh, they're scary and they might actually do this to me. So not only are you concerned about your upcoming performance because you don't have the confidence to think you're going to be able to see that through. And now on top of that, you have the added pressure of, I'm scared that if Kyoji fails, or maybe any of them fail, then I'm going to be the one to pay the price. Because once again, he's made it clear like Kyoji's going to be his only student going forward. So he's not going to be, he gave the advice to the others, so he's not going to be as responsible for them. And I'm sure Kyoji kind of like laid that out to the others, being like, hey, like he's going to be my teacher going forward, not you guys. But they still got some advice. I'm sure the others who couldn't make it are probably going to feel a little left out, like, yo, we want some advice too. But maybe this will inspire them all to kind of get their own singing coaches and stuff like that. So some very, very interesting developments in this episode. It's going to be interesting to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.